our Zion. They're coming home.
The second pick will be made by the
Yes! Zion! He's coming home! Dude, we got Zion! Holy shit! Holy shit! Yes! Holy shit! I can't even believe this, dude! We just got Zion! How did we get Zion, man? We got more years of basketball, dude!
Oh my God! How did we?
I hope he gets the mic. Zion's coming home. Come on.
Whoa. Chase the money. Bitch, be for real.
All right, we're doing podcast number 9. We just got to Nick's house. Me and Brandon just did a little drive from New Orleans. We're going to break down the conference finals, our projections, and we're also going to go over the last round of the playoffs. So I thought this round was amazing.
It was.
I mean, we had 2 Game 7s. The Game 6 was fantastic, I feel like, with Rockets Warriors. Obviously, Celtics Bucks series didn't go well, but I mean, I don't think we could ask for much more, especially compared to, like previous playoffs in the past 5 years. I think this has been one of the best.
The Rockets fan in me drank my sorrows away Friday night, but the basketball fan in me loved it. It was a great second round overall. Like, you can't beat that. That Toronto Kawhi buzzer beater was pretty much straight out of a sports movie. The way that thing just rolled around the rim like a few times.
I thought he missed it in my head.
Yeah.
I mean, so many thoughts went in my head, but at one point I was like, yes, we're going to get into overtime, and then it just kept bouncing.
As someone who bet on it, I'm like, crap, this game's going overtime. Then it hits the second. I'm like, wait a minute. And it's like, unbelievable. It's crazy.
I mean, ball don't even bounce like that at 2K. That was crazy.
Can't make it up, man.
That was absolutely nuts. So, with that being said, let's just jump right in. We'll go Celtics Bucks. I've got a lot to say about this series to start. I mean, we broke down last week, I did say the Celtics could win if they were hitting on all cylinders. I think there was some proof of that with Game 1. I'm not going to lie, I was somewhat with Paul Pierce after Game 1. I was kind of like, damn, the series is over. Like, the Celtics, they outmatch the Bucks in almost every single position besides Greek Freak. Like, Greek Freak's obviously miles above Kyrie, but in every other position, I feel like they were better in. I feel like they had a deeper bench. And I feel like it was evident after that game because they spread the ball out. Everybody was shooting almost like close to the same amount of shots. And I don't know. I was like, damn, the Celtics, like, we underestimated them. Maybe they just weren't trying that much.
Yeah, I think Giannis also made great adjustments in that series. He picked up what angles to try to attack the rim. So it was harder for Boston to pack the paint because that's what they were doing to him in Game 1. And he just didn't know when to kick it out to the three-point shooters. He was thrown off by it. I don't know why they were thrown off by that strategy because, like, I feel like that's what most teams do against Giannis, but they were. He figured out when the timeout passes at the perimeter. Guys started hitting threes. That's when they started packing the paint less, and he got to the rim more. And it was weird because, like, after the first games, I bet on the Bucks. I did a Bucks Raptors series parlay at a casino in Mississippi. And after the first games, I'm like, I thought the Raptors were going to kill the Sixers. I had Raptors in 5. I had Bucks in 7. I'm like, it's going the way I thought it was going to go. This Bucks-Celtics series is probably going to be long. Raptors, I think, they looked well, and then it flip-flopped the complete other way. The Bucks completely took over, and Raptors-Sixers, well, I mean, we'll get to that one later, but that was just a grinder. But yeah, no, Milwaukee figured it out, and it'll be interesting to see because Milwaukee, we'll get to their series preview later, but it'll be interesting to see because I still think they're dominant, but this team they're about to play is definitely a step up from Detroit and Boston. Because Detroit's terrible. And then Boston just had a lot of issues going on internally, I think. So I don't know what y'all think, but that was my takeaway from it.
The Celtics just looked disjointed in that whole series. It almost seemed like they were playing, for themselves, playing solo ball because you had the stat Kyrie shot.
Yeah, I'm about to break this down. I went a little in depth today. I got a little excited. But yeah, you got any more thoughts on the?
No, go ahead.
All right, so. Listen to these numbers, man. These numbers, I blame Kyrie 100% for this series loss. I blame Brad Stevens to a degree, but to a lesser degree because I feel like he was put in a weird position to where I feel like he was pressured by ownership and the GM to play Kyrie Irving and play Gordon Hayward a lot because they are, a lot of money. But look at these numbers. It's Kyrie's selfishness, not spreading the ball out, in my opinion, why they lost. Kyrie Irving, 104 field goal attempts. Their next best player with field goal attempts is 63. That's ridiculous with Horford, okay? Now you look at the Greek Freak, 86 field goal attempts. Their next best player, Chris Middleton, 76 field goal attempts. And it's like the spread is so even for like when you go down the list of players. It's like they're spreading the ball out, obviously. And on the Celtics, it's everybody just taking their own shots and Kyrie being the ringleader of it. Kyrie shot 36% compared to Greek Freak's 52%. That's just, I mean, I feel like that's glaring to show how much better Greek Freak is compared to Kyrie, how much more dominant, how much more he affects the game.
It's very my turn, your turn-ish. Kind of similar to what we see with Oklahoma City at times with Westbrook. And I don't know what the hell. And obviously, I definitely blame Kyrie first and foremost. He took terrible shots in the series. Also, defensively, he was a disaster. He was an embarrassment. The dude doesn't even pick up guys in transition half the time. When he gets beat on the screen, he just gives up on plays. And I also think playing him and Hayward at the same time is bad because I think both of those guys are not great below average defenders. But going back to the Kyrie thing, I really think that negatively, and I don't want to take all the blame off of Tatum because I also thought Tatum should have been a little more aggressive.
Tatum completely shrunk. Tatum shrunk. Yeah. Tatum shrunk. I don't know.
He shrunk. I thought he shrunk. He wasn't aggressive enough. No, he didn't demand the ball enough. And granted, it's his second year in the league. He's a young guy. You know, he can learn and get more aggressive and be more demanding as his career goes on. I'm not saying that's never going to come up, but it was just disappointing to see him just kind of shrink and not even. I mean, Kyrie probably isn't a very approachable guy in his defense,
right?
So that's why I say first and foremost I blame Kyrie. But Tatum also did shrink a little bit too. He wasn't nearly as aggressive at attacking the basket. And when he did shoot, he would just take terrible fadeaway jumpers off the dribble, 20-footers, with like 15 seconds left in the shot clock. No
Kyrie took 50 more shots than him.
Yeah,
see, that's preposterous.
And they weren't even good shots either. They were
horrible.
They were long twos, early shot clock. You know, I'm just going to kind of size my guy up a little bit. He's barely going to get off balance, and I'll throw up a prayer of a shot.
I felt like Kyrie thought that being a leader was who shoots the most, and he clearly failed
something along those lines.
I mean, Giannis, you can see from that, passing the ball to Chris Middleton almost as much as him, or letting him shoot as much as him, and they won 4-1. I mean,
he's a weird dude.
And I'm looking at the percents. I mean, I know field goal percents isn't the biggest deal, but like Al Horford still had a 8% better shot than Chris Middleton, and still, you know, he wasn't given the chance. So this is my take from the series. I know this is kind of a hot take, but I think Brad Stevens should have absolutely benched Kyrie Irving after Game 4. I think he should have benched him and either told him, if you're not coming off the bench, then you're not playing. Because his foot's out the door, and Terry Rozier deserved the chance. He deserved a shot. And you look at these numbers from last year to this year, 17.6 points per game last year compared to 5.8 this year. 42% shooting compared to 29% shooting. 35.9 minutes a game compared to 17 minutes a game. 94 shots to 35. That's ridiculous. This dude like was the heart and soul of that team last year. He led that team. He was the bully. They beat the Bucks and the Sixers. Like, think about that. Those are two. I know they got better this year. Those are two great teams. Giannis wasn't that far off last year as he is this year.
Yeah,
he wasn't that much
better.
They
just had a clown of a coach last year.
True.
But I mean, no, you're right though. I mean, yeah, Giannis is.
I just think honestly, like Kyrie's not coming back. Why not show Scary Terry that you like believe in him? Because you want to keep Scary. I feel like you want to keep that guy. Kyrie's gone. Like, let's be honest. Why are we not? I don't know why they feel like they had to play Kyrie all the way out after he doubled down on his play. After he said I should have taken 30 shots a game, which was after Game 4, I would have said, you don't get it. You're not a leader. You don't know team basketball. You're out. Like, you're not playing or you're sitting the bench.
In Milwaukee, and you're talking about how Al Horford shot well in the series, they were daring him to shoot. Like, they were like, you know, we're going to leave him wide open. He might not be a bad shooter, but, like, we're not letting Kyrie Irving attack us. And Kyrie Irving, you need to see that. So, you know what? We're going to hit Al Horford on some open pick-and-pop threes early in the shot clock. He's going to sink some, and Milwaukee's going to make adjustments, and that might open up more of a driving kick game, or you might get to the rim more, get some better shots, or, you know, get to the free throw line. So it's just
it's hard to watch. Yeah, it's frustrating. I would have even though we picked the Bucks and you bet on the Bucks, I'm sure we all would have much rather a seven game series. You know, where they really competed, and it just.
I think it's
so disappointing.
Yeah, one of the big things we have to realize is, like, this is the first time that this Celtics team has been in the playoffs together. as a whole. You know, they didn't have
Yeah, as
Kyrie
a
last
unit.
year. They didn't have Gordon
Might be
Hayward.
their last too.
And I think it is their last.
Absolutely,
Yeah. And I just feel like they just found themselves stepping on their toes when the big games were on. They just didn't know what to do. They just trusted themselves and they didn't care about anybody else on their team.
Not that we're necessarily previewing next year on this pod, but if Kyrie does leave, I'll be very interested to see how Tatum responds next year.
I
And
think
if
if they keep Rozier and
Yeah.
I mean that's honestly I almost feel like they should. I feel bad they didn't do that because it would have been really cool to see that team like evolve as a unit and gain chemistry. And I mean the more I see that, the more I watch the NBA and basketball in general, the more I'm starting to realize chemistry matters more than stacking talent. Stacking talent can only take you so far because when players don't get enough time to play together, they don't become what they could. They
It's
never
not fantasy
blossom. It's just like let's put them together for a year. Oh, it doesn't work out. Let's get rid of this guy and add this superstar. And it's like, oh, that doesn't work out. I mean, the Warriors worked before Kevin Durant, so you can't. And I mean, I'm going to argue soon. Like, I almost think their chemistry is worse with KD. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a few takes about that, but we'll get to that later on. But,
so yeah.
absolutely.
Anybody have any closing thoughts about the Celtics Bucks?
And also, we did talk a lot about the Celtics. I am also going to give the Bucks credit because
Oh,
I
no
think
doubt.
the Bucks were a better team. I mean, they had the best player in the series. Even as a Rockets fan, if I had a vote, I would have voted for Giannis MVP this year. I thought he's been amazing all year. And the Bucks really do play a lot. And we'll talk about this, how this goes with their Toronto matchup later on. But they do play a lot very similar to the Rockets in the sense that they're a very three-pointer, layup-oriented team.
That's true.
Obviously, Giannis is their star, and he doesn't shoot like Harden does. But in the sense that their offense revolves around Giannis, a lot of either driving kick. The ISO with Giannis is more down on the posts when they do that, as opposed to out in the perimeter that we do with Harden. But they're very similar teams. They rely a lot. They take a lot of threes, and when the threes are falling, like they're almost impossible to beat because then they're just going to hit you on the hammer with Giannis. And then they have the transition game too, where Giannis is just unstoppable on a fast break, and they get open threes because of that. So Milwaukee's a juggernaut. So definitely the Celtics deserve to get piled on. I just also wanted to give the Bucks a little credit because it wasn't all the Celtics folding. Like the Celtics could have had their shit together, and the Bucks still very easily could have won the series. But like you said, it should have been a 7-game series. It should have been a much better series than it was because the Celtics had the talent to do that. But that's just my.
But yeah, they were
little
hidden,
look
and
at
I
the
mean, I
Bucks.
feel like that goes back to the chemistry thing. Like you're saying, they just have a good system,
Yes.
and they have good players that do what they're supposed to do. And I mean,
Yeah.
Middleton's a borderline star. I don't, he's good.
He's a good player.
He's a nice player, but I'm not, I'm not putting him in that next. He's not.
It's like top 20-ish
Yeah.
back end.
Yeah, sure, back end 20, but I'm saying he's not a top 10 player.
He's one of the better two-way players in the league because he's.
He's good, but he's like a
Yeah.
Siakam or something. You know what I mean? He's not that next level. I feel like he's not a superstar.
Oh yeah, no, he's not. He's especially not offensively, but
I just think the emergence of Brook Lopez's three ball has helped that team because that means he can play at the same time as Giannis. He's not clogging the paint
Mhm.
like a typical center, and he can sink
Yeah.
threes. I mean,
he's
he's a lethal guy.
you can
He's a
play
nice
small while also playing big with him in
Yeah.
there, and then if you want to give him a break, put Giannis at center. That's obviously going to work. You play small around that, so.
I mean,
Buzzards is very versatile, and like I said, getting Budenholzer this year, they're just getting a real coach. He just figured out, you know what? Fuck it. We have Giannis. We're spreading everybody out with threes, and we're going to have Giannis, and you're going to have to pick your poison one or the other. So either pack the paint, we'll kick it out to three-point shooters. If not, Giannis gets to the rim on you, and sometimes he gets to the rim anyway, regardless. But
Right.
I mean, Brook
Let's
Lopez
stop it.
averaged 1 percentage point less than Chris Middleton, who's a three-point assassin to a lot of people at 36%. So
That's pretty
that's
good. Yeah, and I mean, Mirotic is. I was telling Brandon, like Mirotic is just one of those players you can put on any team, and he just does great. Like I don't know, he just seems a perfect player to just plug into any system.
And he
just
can
sink
start.
threes, and he's clutch. I don't know.
he can start. He can come off the bench because obviously the thing is now they're bringing Brogdon back. Do you want to fuck with the starting lineup
Right.
and bring Brogdon off the bench, or do you want to do what they've done all year, which is very great, is play the two guards with Bledsoe and Brogdon, have Middleton at the three with Giannis and Lopez, and then bring Mirotic off the bench. So there's a lot of two different ways. Obviously, if I was Bud, I'd keep doing what's been working.
Yeah, if you have to make adjustments, do it.
And Brogdon's still trying to get back in rhythm too.
Right.
I'd continue to start Mirotic for now, but if
Yeah,
things are
I
bad,
agree.
Toronto series early, you always have that change you could switch to. And Brogdon's another very underrated creator that they have. That dude can create offense for other people and make other people around him better too. So Milwaukee, this might sound obvious, but it's a juggernaut, and they're looking in good shape going forward. So
Yeah, they're looking. They got a lot of momentum.
Yeah, they're
coming
gonna.
in.
I mean, that Raptors series, I hope, is amazing. As it seems like it's
Yes.
gonna be, because Kawhi versus Greek Freak's gonna be great. But we can get into that when we break down the matchup. So let's roll right into Rockets Warriors. I'm sure we're gonna get stopped at some point for the draft lottery, but wow, this series was a doozy. I don't know what else to say. I know you're a Rockets fan, Nick. So I'm sure you're feeling it. I picked the Rockets to win. That was kind of a hot take. I didn't, I kind of thought they would win. I wasn't like sold. I was telling Brandon in the car, I almost think this is even a hot take. I almost think that they would have had a better chance if KD wouldn't have gotten hurt. I told him before that game, I said Steph and Clay are going to go off, and they're going to beat the Rockets tonight.
I was worried about that too. And the minute we blew game 5, I did not have a good feeling about the rest of that series whatsoever. Because some people, it was crazy how many people,
Everybody switched.
not just Rockets fans, like just
Everybody.
people in general, like the Warriors are up 3-2, and they're like, no, KD.
Rockets
The
easily
Rockets
win
got
these
this.
next
Like,
two
what
games.
the fuck are you talking about, man?
Yeah.
I don't
Everybody
feel that
forgot
way at
about
all.
Everybody forgot about
I don't feel that
Steph
way
and
at
Clay,
all, man. Like, and I love that team, but not to put myself on a pedestal, but sometimes when you follow a team so closely, you kind of get a sense of when things are going your way, when they're not. And Game 5 was like when Durant went out, and I saw that opportunity. Like, we have to take advantage of this. We need to get this game, get the 3-2 lead, then we can go back home, possibly close it out. I think you might see a different Warriors team come out in Game 6 if we pull that game out at Oracle and go up 3-2. But once we blew that game, and there's a few things I could say about blowing that game. I have issues with a few people, but mostly the coach. The coach more than anybody. D'Antoni, it wasn't a good D'Antoni series, but I don't know if y'all had anything else to say.
let's stop here real quick. I think I think the lottery's about to start.
Yeah, if I keep going, we'll miss the lottery because
we're gonna jump right back in. But yeah, hopefully our Pels can bring home the Zion.
they're announcing all the representatives.
So let's get back to the breakdown. I think we were doing Rockets Warriors,
what a
and
letdown.
yeah,
We gotta
back
talk
to
about the
the
Rockets.
doom and gloom.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. My thoughts were just the Rockets. James Harden just doesn't. I don't know. He just never stepped up. He never did what he was supposed to do. He was never the superstar people thought he was, and that's. I mean, he wasn't. Like he shied away. He had a ton of turnovers in the end of games.
All right, the turnovers.
He made one clutch 3 that I can really remember.
I mean, he was in Game 6. He was 5 for 8, 12 points in the fourth quarter.
I mean, that's
he had-
fair,
he
but
had
I'm
a few bad
talking
turnovers. He had
last
a few
2 minutes. Last
bad
2 minutes, I feel like he wasn't there.
I mean,
In game, dude, the last game, he just didn't step up the way Clay and Steph stepped up. And I'm not saying he wasn't.
That's
I'm
two
not
of the
saying-
great shooters of all time.
But that's my point. It's like he's not. If you want to beat the Warriors, man, you got to be just as good or better than that. You can't beat the Warriors with being like he's a superstar and he put up his numbers, but he didn't do it in the clutch and he didn't rise above. He didn't rise like Giannis or like Kawhi or like even Steph and Clay did.
There were a lot of things that went wrong towards the end of that game.
And Chris Paul too. Chris Paul did not live up to
Chris Paul was terrible in Game
expectations.
5. I put a lot of Game 5 on Chris Paul. I thought he was awful in that game. He played out of control in the fourth quarter. I have a lot of issues with D'Antoni, some of the stuff he was doing in this series. I thought our clock management in Game 5 was horrendous. Like we're down by 4 with a 10-second differential between game clock and shot clock. The game clock ends at 18 seconds, and we let numerous more seconds run off the clock before we foul.
That was terrible.
Way too much Gerald Green. Gerald Green played way too much in the series. He's playing him in crunch time at the end of Game 5 and 6. Gerald Green whenever he touches the ball, he's just going to jack up a horrible 3 or do something stupid.
Yeah, that is his game.
I don't know why he was playing so much.
But...
I didn't like when he would do this thing, and this is fine. Like I like this because we like in the end of first, end of third, beginning second, beginning of fourth. Obviously you want to stagger Paul and Harden's minutes so you can have them playing together in crunch time. Well, we usually take Chris Paul at like the 6-minute mark of the first quarter, and the same thing, 6-minute mark in the third quarter. Bring him back in beginning of the second and fourth. I don't know why he's taking Gordon out halfway through because our 3 best players are Paul, Gordon, and Harden. You need to have at least 2 of them on the floor at all times.
Eric Gordon was the second best player.
Eric Gordon was the second best player in the series for us, for the Rockets. He was definitely the second best player in the series, and he would take him out in the 4-minute mark, and then you're closing the quarter out with Harden, Rivers, and then just an awful combination of Shumpert, Green. Capella was bad in the series too. Like I thought Kevon Looney just freaking ate his lunch the whole series. And
Well, y'all got destroyed on the rebounds, and
We
I
got
think it was
destroyed on rebounding.
game 5. Y'all got that was the one Looney
Yeah,
got all.
not
That was
rebound,
embarrassing.
yeah,
That was straight up embarrassing.
Clint
Capella's
Capella
supposed to be a
yeah.
top 5 pure center. and
Capella's been great all year, but this series he was terrible. And then I love the small lineup. I wish we'd have played even more of the small lineup with Tucker at the 5 and then the 4 guards.
Yeah, Tucker did
Hart,
well,
Paul, Gordon, and Rivers. I mean, that series, you could switch everything on them. We have almost everybody on the floor is a good defensive player with that lineup. So you can switch almost anything. We were executing well offensively and getting our best looks with that lineup on the floor. And he just didn't play it enough, especially in crunch time. So I think D'Antoni was the biggest loser on the Rockets for this series. I thought he coached the series horribly. Harden wasn't great. And he did have some sloppy turnovers. Chris Paul did not help much at all. Eric Gordon, like I said, he was the second best player on the team. Capella wasn't great. I just think overall, and the Warriors were just better. Durant was great early in the series. And then once Durant goes out, they start moving the ball around more.
Right,
like
they became the old Splash Brothers.
I also thought defensively we just weren't disciplined enough in that series. We made too many mistakes. There were too many times late in that game too where like we're backing off on screens that they're setting for Curry and Thompson like 25 feet out. It's like, no, you have to crowd those screens. Let them try to get around you. Don't give them enough space to get a shot off. And the Warriors were just better coached. They were more disciplined on both ends of the floor. And they were just a better team, and that's why we lost this year. Also, the officiating bullshit, which not in the rest part, but us overly complaining about it after game 1.
Y'all took game 1.
And I don't know who in our front office thought it was. And look, Daryl Morey is one of the best GMs in the league. I'm not shitting on him at all. I think the dude's brilliant. I don't know whose decision it was to leak that fucking report about the Western Conference Finals last year at the end of game 1. I did not like that move at all. I thought if you watch game 2 of the series, we were thrown off mentally from all complaining about the refs and all that game 1 instead of just moving on and playing.
Yeah, game 2 was bad.
I think something about that. I mean, that affects the Warriors' mentality.
They got pumped up for it too
because they're like, man, they don't even think they beat us straight up. And then that affects the Rockets because you saw Chris Paul being like jumping up and down when Harden finally drew that foul. And, no ref is going to want to see that.
Last year, we lost the series because Chris Paul pulled his hamstring at the end of Game 5. Yeah. And we had double-digit leads at halftime of both Game 6 and 7, and we blew it. It was not because of officiating. And I am just so goddamn tired. This goes beyond the Rockets and even basketball. I am just so goddamn tired of everyone blaming every loss on officiating. Refs are bad. They make mistakes. But there's also a lot of things teams can do to overcome that. You have to worry about what you can control as a player and what you can control as a coach. The refs are human. They're going to make bad calls. Everyone after every game just like, oh, it was the refs' fault. They didn't make this call. They would have made that call and that call and that call. We would have won. You can flip that around to the other team and say, well, they may probably miss calls on you that you didn't see because you're blind for your team. And
But that's why they need to go. That's why they need to
aggravating. And it's probably the most annoying thing about my team because we do complain about refs a lot, but it's just aggravating in general. And
well, let me tell you, I think the whole reffing philosophy needs to change amongst all sports. I mean, reffing. Replay used to be used in a way to where it was supposed to be, if it's obvious. And now they're using replay to break down every little play, analyze every little foul, every little thing. And it's like sports were designed to emulate what you do in the street with your friends or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, in my opinion.
It's part of the game.
Right. It's like playing pickup with your friends at the gym or something. You're going to call fouls here and there, but it's going to be obvious stuff. And you're not going to, every time somebody calls you out of bounds and stuff, it's not going to be right. But it's like what you see. You know how many catches you make on the lots when we used to play that probably weren't catches, but they looked like catches? That's what it's supposed to be, in my opinion. And we need to go back to that. And we're too much overanalyzing every little play and breaking down every little thing. I think we need like sky judges to overturn the egregious things, but other than that, I don't think.
And this could be streamlined too by like a sky judge. You say like they could mic into refs really quickly, so we don't have to have huge stoppages of plays.
Right? Why can we know what the real thing is fast in like 2 seconds, and they can't make a damn decision?
I'm gonna switch sports just for a quick second. Wait till pass interference gets stopped every fucking 2 minutes of the last half of each game.
I know.
That's going to be a nightmare.
It might be, and the Sky Judge would eliminate that nightmare.
It
Why
would.
do they just? It's such a simple solution. But it's all stubbornness.
You could call pass interference on almost any pass play.
You could call
Every
holding
other
on
play,
almost every
and
play.
holding play
You
too.
could call a walk
You're gonna
on
be
almost
a-
every play. You could call
You're gonna-
foul on almost every play in the NBA. There's so many things you could call.
They're
going to
be stopping every other play in the last 2 minutes of halves, every other pass play to look at that, and it's going to be awful. Now they might adjust after a few weeks in the season, but let's go back to basketball. I'm not kidding. I don't want to
Yeah, that's fine. We won't go too much on
we can do
that.
We can go more in depth than that on a football podcast, but.
I just think another thing with the Rockets series is that Chris Paul, only averaging 16 points a game is awful.
It is. He's supposed to be a superstar.
He's paid like a superstar. He's being paid close to 40 mil, and he's 8. I don't know why.
He's not the same guy he used to be.
No,
not. You think
he's
that
fallen
hamstring
far.
got him? I think
Hamstring,
it
just
took
a lot of
little
other
off his
things.
push.
And also, you got to realize smaller players in general just age faster and get more dinged up than bigger players do. And Chris Paul's been a great point guard in this league for a long time. And like I said, if he stays healthy last year, I think we beat the Warriors, and I will argue that to anybody to this day. I think we win that series last year, but at the end of the day, it's just too many injuries, too many miles, and going forward, that contract's going to be brutal in the last year of it. But and it wasn't a bad move by us because you have to re-sign him. I thought it was a bad move by us to let Ariza and Bahamute go and then just completely run it back. That's what we should have done because against what a lot of people were saying, I still don't think we were better equipped this year than we were last year to beat that team. I thought last year was still our best shot to beat them. I thought that was our best chance to beat them last year. That was our best all-around team from top to bottom. And it was a combination of a bad injury at a bad time and then a historically statistical anomaly with 27 missed threes in Game 7. But that was last year.
Ariza's defense, that was, in my opinion, the biggest
it's
loss.
Whatever. But,
I think KD, I think the Warriors without KD are better. Honestly.
As a basketball fan, I'm not just for competitive balance purposes, but just as just watching the games, like the Warriors, they're way. And look, I'm not saying I like the Warriors. I hate the Warriors, but they're way more fun to watch in general without Kevin Durant.
Absolutely, Kevin Durant slows the game down so much.
He's so dominated. It's almost not fun.
And look, Durant's an awesome player. I like watching Durant as a player.
Right. Absolutely.
I also like watching the rest of those Warrior guys play
like they're supposed to play. Well, Steph and Clay just shrink when he's on the court.
Yeah.
And honestly, people completely forgot about the Warriors. Like you were saying earlier, everyone picked the Rockets to win the next 2 games. People forgot how dominant the Warriors were. People were saying the Warriors may have never won another championship, which might be true. But I don't know, man. Steph and Clay, when they're on and when they're pumped up and into the game, they're 2 of the best that have ever
They were
done.
down 3 in the year they won 73. People always refer to them blowing a 3-1 lead, but if you look in the Western Conference Finals, they were down 3-1 to Oklahoma City, and it was the shooting. It was Klay Thompson going off in the fourth quarter of Game 6 at OKC. If he doesn't go off, OKC wins it right there, and the Warriors aren't even in the finals. So, just to go back to your point, Curry and Thompson people obviously forgot since Durant's gone there, but they're 2 of the best shooters. They might be the 2 best shooters of all time.
If Steph wouldn't have stepped up, I think the Rockets would have taken game 6.
I thought Clay dominated Chris Paul on the offensive end of the series. Paul guarded him well from time to time, but for the most part, Clay was making plays too, especially when Durant went out. People forget the playmaker that Klay Thompson can be sometimes too. It's just it's a team where they still move the ball around. They still play a good brand of basketball with Durant in there. But Durant, to get the full use out of Durant, you still need him to have his ISO touches, his post touches, because he's that good of a player. And it'll just be better on all ends. It'll be better to watch the Warriors. It'll be better for the league in general. It'll also be nice to see Durant take on a new challenge just for him personally. Especially if he tries to turn that shit show of a mess in New York into something. So
I think the only way Durant stays, honestly, is if they lose. I think if they lose, he may stay. Especially if he doesn't come back and they lose, because there's a lot of rumors saying he might not even be back for the finals.
Especially now that they only have the third.
A lot of people are saying that injury is worse than.
I definitely heard the first 2 games, and it was a week by week basis. But indefinitely. I guess you never know with that. But
So we'll see. I'm excited for this round though, and we're gonna get into that in a little bit.
We'll really see. Draymond Green really stepped up in that last series, nearing almost a triple double.
He did.
It just goes back to my point. I think chemistry is such a big thing, and Klay Thompson.
Iguodala was 5 for 8 from 3 and played great defense in the closeout
He's been
game
fantastic.
for them. So,
Klay Thompson and Steph Curry's attitude from Kevin Durant not being hurt to hurt is is night and day. He is so much more, especially Klay Thompson. He's so much more fired up, so much
Clay
more in the
benefits
game.
the most from it, I think.
I think he secretly hates playing with Durant. I think he's sick of it.
He probably does deep down, but Clay is just so freaking chill. Like
He's never gonna say anything. No, he's never gonna say anything. But I
Clay
think
might be the
I think
chillest
you can
dude in
tell
the
on
NBA,
someone's
but-
demeanor, especially in games 3 and 4. He looked just pissed
He looked
off.
pissed.
I'll admit, if Klay Thompson was a Rocket, he'd probably be my favorite player in the whole NBA. Like that dude
He
goes
plays
with
hard
the
and
flow.
he never stops
He
moving.
knows his role. He knows what he's good at, and he just emphasizes it all the time.
He's the
and
definition of
doesn't-
moving without the ball.
Exactly. Yeah,
he
moves.
he's so
He plays
he's
solid
so
defense.
damn
He can
hard.
make plays on the post if you want him to. He can move without the ball if you want him to. He's an excellent defender. I just hate that he's on the Warriors, but that's a different story.
Yeah, I hear you.
But,
So
I mean, like I said, like with Durant and Curry already there, like Clay is the one that like you notice. Like the difference between Durant's in and not in, that's I think the biggest difference how much you notice him when he's in the game. But,
absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely. So any closing thoughts on Warriors Rockets? We're moving.
I'm ready to move on.
All right, fair enough.
Same like season.
So we got Nuggets Blazers. This was another great series. Didn't I tell you about my boy Zach Collins? How about Zach Collins?
He was awesome in
He
that
was-
series.
he
He
was
was
a beast.
great.
He was a beast.
9 blocks. in
Their
2
big,
games,
their
I'm
big
pretty
shocked
sure.
me. I'm just mind blown by Cantor. I thought Cantor was like a garbage player, and he just
I'm wondering if they might consider starting Collins at some point in this series.
I think
Especially
it's a great
Because
lineup.
Cantor is far from 100%, and if
Cantor's just
he
such
might
a
not
good-
hang in the series, to be honest with you. Just combine the mileage with his defensive questions, and then the shoulder injury, obviously, and the fact that by the way, in case y'all didn't hear, he's fasting for Ramadan. I don't know if y'all heard
I
him.
did hear that.
You know, ESPN may have said that 1 or 2
100
times, but
times.
in
Good luck
case
to
you heard
that, man. I didn't know you couldn't drink water. Good luck,
Yeah,
man.
that's pretty
I was like, oh, you just can't
look,
eat food. That's not that bad.
Don't get me wrong, I
No
respect
water.
it. My
Oh
favorite player in
Lord.
basketball history did that and still killed people
Is that
in the playoffs
Hakeem?
back in the Hakeem, yeah. I'm just making because ESPN said that.
Oh no, I know. They said it like
50,000
8,000
times.
times. They jump on one thing, they can't let it go.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's shocked me this series. Obviously Zach Collins was ridiculous. Their bench stepped up big time. I mean, they had players like Rodney Hood step up. Seth Curry stepped up one game. Evan Turner in Game 7 was fantastic down the stretch.
Yeah, that came out of nowhere.
I was like, this guy, I haven't seen this guy in forever, and he went off. Who did he used to play for the Pacers? Who did he used to play for? He was on that
Most
Pacers
of the
team when they made
Pacers,
that run, right? With
Yeah.
Granger
Paul
and
George.
Paul George, right?
and Hibbert. And,
He's
yeah.
a
Yeah.
fairly young guy.
I remember
Yeah.
him, but
And then
yeah,
Portland signed him to a weird big contract a few years ago.
he kind of
That was
fell
the
off.
Durant summer where everyone had money and they were just looking to spend it. Portland's like, oh, we have money to spend. Let's sign Evan Turner. But I mean,
Yeah.
My favorite player.
Well, he got him a playoff dub. Yeah, I mean, he was clutch. His offense was
I guess
clutch.
you can't mock that too much, but
Yeah, my favorite player to watch in that series was C.J. McCollum. I
Oh.
felt like Damian Lillard kind of, he kind of struggled a little bit. He almost had a triple double in that last game.
Their defense on
But
him
that's
was
kind of a struggle
fantastic.
for him.
Gary Harris was awesome.
He was
Gary Harris
man.
was
That
awesome.
defense was so. His defense compared to Westbrook's defense was amazing.
Not that Derek White is great, but he shut down. Derek White had a few good scoring games early in the San Antonio series. Malone made the adjustment, switched Harris over to Derek White. Didn't hear from him ever again.
No, you're right.
Obviously, that round justified him more because he was guarding freaking Damian Lillard, not Derek White. But just, that's just an example of how good he's been the whole postseason in general. But also, I found it kind of interesting in that series in how passive, not in a bad way, but like Lillard picked his spots in that series. He was kind of passive, and also the physical toll he was taking from Harris. Someone else brought up a theory. I want to say it was Ryan Russillo on a podcast I was listening to earlier today with Adrian Wojnarowski. He brought up the theory maybe Lillard definitely felt like he had something to prove going up against Westbrook in round 1. Maybe he kind of gassed out a little bit in that series because he balled out in the Oklahoma series in round 1. Maybe he was it was a combination. I'm not trying to take anything from Gary Harris. Gary Harris was the number one reason he didn't score a whole lot.
Right.
But he still made plays even with Harris on him, which is impressive. But he also may have been a little gassed, playing in some Denver altitude, and then also just trying to shut up Westbrook. In the
Yeah,
first
yeah.
round.
I mean, I think that's definitely a combination because
Interesting theory.
the Westbrook thing, I think, took a lot of his energy, and I think he really hated Westbrook deep down. I think he hated how much Westbrook just was a show off, and
he gets all the heat.
Gets so much attention.
Everyone thinks Westbrook's is great, way better than Lillard. Right. No one ever talks about Lillard. Everyone talks about Westbrook. He's got a point there. I agree.
I think he wanted to take Westbrook out, so I think that was a big factor. And then I really think the defense was insane.
Yeah,
he was like from half court on, he was locking that dude down. Lillard got a running start almost against on every play, almost against everyone who defended him on the Thunder. He was free to shoot pretty freely on that back end, from those super far out shots. So I would give Harris more credit than the energy drink.
Oh yeah, no, that's why I said Garrett Harris.
I do think that was definitely a factor.
And the few times they did switch off of him, he was facing Torrey Craig, and he's no slouch defensively either. So, and Torrey Craig actually, I think Torrey Craig did a decent job on C.J. McCollum. I just thought McCollum did an excellent job of getting space on him in open floor. Like when he off the dribble, he could just get enough space and knock down a ton of shots.
I just thought C.J. McCollum was unguardable in that game. So
I
mean, when they needed a shot at the end of the game, he dribbled right up to the free throw line and stepped back and sunk it. I mean, he won.
Oh yeah, and I mean that's why I give Damian Lillard so much credit because he's smart enough to know when to defer the ball. I mean,
exactly. That's why when I said he was passive, I'm not trying to because a lot of times that's used in a negative connotation.
Right.
But I was saying this in a positive way here because he knew his role, he knew what he was capable of, and yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. He was fantastic through the series, McCollum and Lillard. I just thought they both played their role, and I don't know. I really enjoyed this series from top to bottom. Nurkic, man, that guy is just something.
Even though they won the series,
he is a great player.
Oh, you're talking about Jokic?
Yeah, Jokic.
Yeah.
Jokic was unstoppable.
Yeah,
his passing and post play is just unguardable.
It's fun to watch.
It's so fun to watch.
He might be the best center in the league right now.
You can make that
top
case.
2, top 3.
Definitely offensively for sure.
I think he might be.
I think he's better than Embiid offensively, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
he's more consistent than Embiid.
The ball goes through him way better. Embiid's not that good at passing, in my opinion. Not nearly as good. Jokic, it's like when he gets the ball, you're like, oh man, somebody's gonna score. Like somebody's cutting in the lane, he's gonna fake it and get to the three, or he's gonna fake it, shoot. I don't know.
It's kind of crazy.
There's so many moves.
When him and Jamal Murray play a 2-man game, it's Murray a lot of times setting the screens for Jokic. It's like they run pick and rolls, but the center is the primary ball handler. It's just something you just don't see a lot. It's very unique. Jamal Murray, I thought was great in that. I mean, he had a bad game 7, but I thought for the series in general, because usually he's very up and down player, but most of that series I thought he was great too, and he was their best crunch time guy. I'll say that, at least shooting wise.
Yeah, he was great in the first 6 games. He kind of shrunk game 7, but
it was a fun series.
Denver's got a lot to look forward to.
They do.
Michael
definitely.
Porter Jr. is coming back, didn't play the whole year. I mean,
they're going to have some cap space, and some of those Philly might not be able to pay all those guys if they, in the event, let's say Philly decides they don't want to pay Tobias Harris. You bring Tobias Harris onto that team. That's a really good fit.
That's a good piece, yeah.
That's not out of the way. I'm not saying it's definitely going to happen, but I mean, they have some flexibility of what they could do, and they already have
a
good young
low
guys
star. Yeah, absolutely.
So
they made it further than I thought. I mean, we both picked the Thunder. I was surprised they made it that far, and I was surprised how well they competed with Portland.
I know it's hindsight.
Well, I mean, Paul George is supposed to be a top 5 debatable player, and he's just not. And also, I mean, I don't know. They lost because of Lillard, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, no. Damian Lillard Lillard single-handedly won that series for him, to be honest. But and also, I mean, OKC doesn't have enough shooting, but that's been a problem with them for years. But
yeah,
I did pick Portland to win that Denver series, but I did think the Nuggets were going to win. I did say Portland in 6. I thought they closed out at home.
Yeah,
I thought the Nuggets were going to win Game 7.
Game 7, I did too. I did too, to be honest. But they couldn't close out.
That 4 overtime.
They got that huge lead though. Oh yeah, that 4 overtime was amazing.
That's a classic. I'd never forget that game. That was insane. That was an amazing game. But yeah, that was a really fun series.
Very fun series. Both two teams that are so different, and
the matchups are interesting. It's weird rosters, but both coaches, man. I thought both coaches were good in that series too.
Coaches are fantastic.
Hell, who would have thought D'Antoni would be the worst coach of the Final Four in the West?
Right.
D'Antoni.
And there was some animosity too. Kanter and Jokic were kind of going at it a little bit. It was good. Great series.
Yeah, it was.
All right, moving on. 76ers Raptors. Another amazing series. I think this was my favorite series just because of all the big names.
Very physical
all the
series.
stars.
All the ups
very
and downs.
That was kind of like a throwback to like the late '90s, early 2000 like grind. I mean, it was still a faster pace if you look at the numbers, but I mean, just in terms of like comparatively in this era where games are usually up and down a lot, there's a lot of possession, a lot of shots thrown up. It was kind of an old school, physical half court series. And Toronto somehow, I was nervous about that. Other than game one, I was nervous about that series the whole time.
I don't know how Toronto squeaked that out.
The Raptors were, even though they won the series, they were a little disappointing in my opinion. Just because,
I don't think their role players really showed up. They really didn't.
They had such a tough time getting easy baskets. Now, part of that, I'll credit the Sixers because for all the shit you want to give Brett Brown, and I've even given him some shit, I will say this. The decision, I think he made it in game 2, I want to say, where he decided to switch Embiid on Siakam and have him roam kind of like around the elbow area in between the paint and the arc, where he would have one hand over in Siakam, but he would also roam for drivers on the weak side. I thought that doing that switch, I think took Siakam out of that series.
He was very
phased once because he was not expecting them to make that. I mean, a lot of people weren't expecting them to make that kind of a switch. And Embiid pretty much Siakam had a big first round series. Granted, it was Orlando,
right?
But I thought he took Siakam out of that series. That was an interesting move that Philly made. Almost worked out.
Yeah, those role players just did not show up. Lowry was terrible in certain games.
Danny Green was disappointing.
Danny Green did not make a lot of clutch threes like he normally does. It was just a disappointing series from their role players. Kawhi literally put that team on his back and carried them to the finish.
3 players in double digits. I mean, Kawhi at 34 a game.
You could argue Ibaka was their second best player in that series. I will say this: he was their second best player in Game 7. He made some big shots in that.
You're not lying. He was pretty clutch towards the end. And I mean, Jimmy Butler. It's funny we were talking about benching him potentially, but I think Jimmy Butler really. I just think Jimmy Butler kind of just showed how good he really is. And honestly, Tobias Harris is just a low-rated star, if even a star, in my opinion. I don't think he's that good.
We should go back.
I think he would be a good piece for a
Tobias
team.
Harris.
Yeah, but I don't think he's.
Like I said, Denver.
I don't think he's great
on Denver.
I think he's he's
a good piece.
He's a good piece.
Super solid. Yeah.
He's a little overqualified to be a role player, but he still should be a role player.
Right, he's not a star.
That's the role that comes through in Denver because you already have Jokic, you have Jamal Murray, you have a bunch of other wings who just know their role. Throw Tobias Harris in there, But
Embiid really disappointed me in Game 7 at the end. I don't know if you watched the highlights or anything. He should not, even if they weren't going to go for him, he should not have been standing at the 3-point line like that. Him at the 3-point line.
Oh yeah,
But he disappeared. It almost seemed like he was scared almost. I know he wasn't, but why are you floating at the 3 in the last 2 minutes of the game in a tie game or with a 2-point deficit? Get in the paint or at least get rebounds and stuff. He's just hanging at the 3.
He pops out on screens way too much.
He takes too many
roll
threes.
To the basket. He would be an amazing pick and roll center if he would roll off of setting screens more often. That's probably the number one thing that drives me crazy about Embiid. I just don't know why he doesn't do that. I don't know if it's coaching. I don't know if it's his decision. I don't know if he just wants to pop out and shoot threes. Part of it might be I'm not sure his conditioning is the best, so sometimes he just wants to pop out and take shots.
No, he looks tired the whole game.
He always looks tired. Yeah, he's sluggish. And I think a part of that could be because Ben Simmons can't make anything in the paint. So, his only reason...
Ben Simmons is a joke. Let's just be honest. That dude is a complete joke.
Yeah, but
how can you not develop a damn jump shot? Shoot the damn ball in the regular season, dude. Just shoot it. Just shoot it. What is wrong with you? Who's coaching this guy? That is just... Dude, honestly, I'm disgusted by that. Last year's playoffs proved he needed a jump shot. It was glaring everyone in the face. Everyone that watched that series saw it. And what happens during this next season? The same damn thing. Oh, he's great in the regular season. He's a mini Giannis. Blah, 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 blah. Shoot the damn ball. Shoot a jump shot. It's not that hard.
He is completely ineffective in a half-court game.
He's so easy to take out the game.
The only time he's ever effective is when he's in transition. And he's running, and he has more momentum to get to the rim.
Absolutely.
You watch him. I know it was last year, but if you watch him when they played the Celtics last year, they were a clogged toilet on offense because he just stood out by the 3-point line and did absolutely nothing. This series, he changed it up. He decided, I'm going to stand on the baseline this time, 15 feet out, and do nothing. But also,
don't understand it.
I will say this: we were just giving Embiid some shit for popping on screens that are rolling, and maybe not posting up a little more. And while he does deserve some criticism of that, I also think a part of that is because, one, they never want to play Simmons and Embiid apart apart for some reason. They always want to have them on the floor at the same time. I don't think they're a great mix together.
I think
And a big part of that is because Embiid doesn't have space some of the time, not all the time, but sometimes Embiid can't roll or post up because
Simmons got to get out.
Simmons is just standing on the baseline doing absolutely nothing.
And if he's on a three,
And
then
his defender's
they're gonna
like-
help. They're gonna help if he's on the three.
His defender's like, well, he's not going to shoot out here, and if he rolls to the basket, I can easily recover. So I'm just going to kind of stay near him while watching what Embiid does. And once Embiid's guy on a pick is going to follow him, so that's two guys automatically that are going to be around Embiid if he goes close to the goal. So
Man, even if he shot 30%, it would be worth it. Why is he not shooting at all? Like that to me is just embarrassing.
I mean, Ben Simmons didn't shoot 1 free in that whole series.
No, he didn't shoot one. He shot one shot outside the paint.
he doesn't even.
The whole series.
The crazy
whole
thing is he
series.
doesn't I'm sure he's not a good. Obviously he's not a good 3-point shooter.
I'm
But I'm not even sure how bad he is because he never even shoots.
Yeah, I've never seen him shoot a jump shot.
I mean, he can't be that much worse than some of the other guys.
I just
in the
don't
league.
understand.
I think his freshman year at LSU was the last time I've ever seen him shoot a jump shot.
Yeah, it really.
Now, granted, I don't watch the 76ers every night, but I mean,
Somebody better get this guy in a gym. Because
Yeah,
seriously, it's not that hard to shoot the damn ball and learn how to shoot.
mean,
I mean, you're an NBA
He
player.
was horrible when he started out.
Yeah, exactly. You're an NBA player. Shoot the damn ball. Unless you're Shaq, you need to shoot the damn ball.
Early in Jason Kidd's career, they called him Ace and Kidd because he had no J.
Really?
And then by the end of his career, he was a 40% 3-point shooter on a championship team in Dallas.
A ton of players
I
that
mean,
developed
Brook
a three.
Lopez shows that you can adapt. He didn't have a 3-ball 4 years ago, and now
It's
he's shooting
something you
close
can
to
definitely,
40.
and that's why I'm still not going to give up on Ben Simmons. That is something you can.
I'm not
still,
giving up on him.
No, I
just
know
think
what
it's
you're saying. I know what
embarrassing.
you're saying.
It's embarrassing.
Yeah,
No one's taught this guy.
And also, I'm not sure Embiid's the right fit with him. He might.
No, and there's been a lot of people that said they need to trade one of them.
I think. Well, one of them, I think it should definitely. I'm taking a chance on Embiid before I'm taking a chance on Simmons.
The
Because
argument
at least
to
with
trade
Embiid,
Embiid,
we've seen his ceiling and it's amazing.
yeah, the argument is that Embiid's injury problems and he may
Yeah.
never actually
Yeah.
be healthy. That's the only
No,
argument.
I get
And you
it.
could
That's
probably
a risk too.
and you could probably get a lot more value.
That's
for
not
Embiid.
risk free. I just think the ceiling is higher with Embiid. That's why I would trade Simmons.
Oh,
I
I do
agree,
too.
but I mean Ben Simmons with the J, I don't know. He could be a young Giannis. I don't know.
Ben Simmons could be phenomenal with that type of breakaway, like run the whole.
But
point
if
speed
you're
as
a
6'9"
up and coming
guard, I mean,
superstar, you can't let JJ Redick outscore you in a freaking 7-game series. That's ridiculous. I don't know what else to say. What about your boy James Enos? He's freaking stepped up. Yeah, no surprise, no surprise. The freaking other Kardashian, Tristan Thompson's like on the verge of being the next Lamar Odom.
But what is she? Who is she dating now?
Well, she was dating Tristan. I'm saying Tristan Thompson's on her way to being the next Lamar Odom. But no, he was saying Ben Simmons. Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to trade Simmons.
You got to trade
You
Simmons.
got to trade Simmons.
Get rid of him.
Look, James Harden tried that for 1 year, and we barely made the playoffs that 1 year. Like, trust me, don't
Yeah,
go down that
Forgot
path.
about
but,
that. Yeah,
but yeah.
Enos stepped up.
Ain't
Your
it?
boy.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah,
yeah, he was all right. I mean, he was all right.
I'm most impressed with Butler.
The
though.
Sixers thing, yeah. It was funny. We were talking about the Sixers in the last podcast, at the end of the first round. I was like, I like the lineup where instead of Butler, they have Mike Scott. Now, the more I watched, I'm like, replace Jimmy Butler with Ben Simmons and play that lineup out there. But, of course, you still don't really have a true point guard out there to do that.
Or just
But Simmons doesn't run the point.
I don't think
much time
I thought
anyway,
Tobias Harris was pretty terrible in this series, to be honest. I just feel like he missed so many
Yeah,
clutch
he missed some shots, and he's not. I'm not saying he's not a complete liability on defense, but he's not a lockdown guy like Butler or Embiid.
No, and Butler was just great. I feel like Butler's one of the most clutch players in the entire NBA. He makes so many tough shots down the stretch, and it's just like he's got, I don't know.
As much as I shit on Enos, you could have made a case you play him down the stretch, at least defensively anyway.
He played well. I mean, he really did.
Played all right.
It's funny they didn't even play Boban, or they
More
had to
defensive.
replace Boban with Greg Monroe. I mean, I know the matchups didn't. make
That
sense.
wasn't a good Boban series.
No, it wasn't at all.
That's why.
Greg
I didn't
Monroe
see
is just.
Boban.
Greg
And
Monroe.
well, look, now you could argue, well, why the hell is Greg Monroe out there? That's an argument you can make too, but
He was horrible, but yeah, Kawhi.
they just didn't have a good bench. In
I
general.
mean, the fact that they just couldn't stop Kawhi.
No,
I mean,
Kawhi was
the
the
Kawhi
truth.
was just dominant. He was just the best player on earth. for that
Embiid,
series.
and look,
he was amazing.
I don't have a problem with Embiid playing over 40 minutes because it's the playoffs and you need guys to play. But if they could have just had him playing like 36 to 40 instead of 40 to 45 every night and just get a half decent backup center, or get a half decent stretch five or a half decent wing player to where they can play small while you give Embiid some rest for a few minutes. That's something they need to address in the offseason because their lack of bench also did show in this series. Like they really only have like 6 or 7 dudes you can rely on at most, and then
very, very top.
It's a thing. Yeah, I mean the starting lineup is a very talented lineup, but once you get by that, you're talking about James Ennis and Mike Scott. And
I mean, the bad thing about the Sixers now that they lost is that they traded away 2 first-rounders for Tobias Harris. I'm pretty sure they traded for Jimmy Butler. I mean, they went all in, and now
they're definitely. I think Butler's going to re-sign. I think Tobias Harris is gone.
JJ Redick's a free agent as well.
I think they're going to have to. I definitely think they should bring Butler back. I think it might be between Redick and Harris, and
I feel like Harris is going to want a max.
You might get a better value with Redick in terms of the contract to sign him to, but it's also more of a short-sighted move to sign Butler over Harris. Just because I think Harris is younger, he's gonna. Now I know you should be trying to win the title now because they're kind of in. They are kind of in win now mode, but at the
I don't
same
know.
time,
I don't think Harris's potential is that much more. I feel like he's almost at his ceiling.
I just think they shouldn't sign JJ Redick. They paid him for 2 years for like close to $40 million, 2 years in a row.
Redick, I mean, not that, like I said,
he's a good player, but
not that Harris is great defensively, but Redick is a turnstile on defense.
Yeah.
So he's basically like, and he can hit shots, he can get around screens, he's still good at that. But if he's not doing that and he's off, which Toronto did kind of adjust to him as the series went on. He didn't get as many open looks. So if he's not getting open looks, like I don't really know what you.
No, he wasn't making the tough shots either.
At least with Harris. I know he didn't shoot well in that series, but he can shoot. And he also has a little bit of a post-up game. He's like a half creator. He can kind of get a shot a little bit. But JJ Redick, if he's not getting open threes, I don't know what his value on.
Well, I would much rather Harris than JJ Redick, but I think the money's going to be
the money.
Way
That could play a part.
I mean, if I were them, I would rather Redick for much cheaper and build a deeper bench. But I mean, obviously, if you choose between the two, you want Harris.
That's true. That 100%. Is a good point. You go Redick and then maybe use the rest of the money, maybe a little bit of your middle-level exception on a decent backup center or wing or something. I don't know who's out there. I'd have to look at the whole list of people. But
great series overall.
Fantastic. No, it was a great series.
Y'all ready to predict the next round?
Sure. Let's get to it.
All right, so we got Warriors, Blazers. We're watching it right now. It's 24-16.
I have the Warriors minus 7.5, so they're almost covered.
Oh, you bet on it?
Yeah.
This series is going to be interesting. I think it's obviously a big part of Durant coming back or not. I think the Warriors could obviously win without Durant. I just think the Blazers are going to give them a run for their money if they don't have Durant. I feel like they're similar style teams. I think Damian Lillard is going to play great D on Steph Curry. I don't think Steph Curry's D is like comparable.
He can't manage his fouls for shit.
No, I think Damian Lillard's going to destroy him on. I think that's a match made in heaven for Lillard on offense.
For a small guard, well, I guess he's 6'3", but like he's kind of small in general. For a
Steph
guard of small stature, he can't manage fouls at all.
Steph's guarding CJ. Brandon saying. I mean, either way, CJ or Lillard, I think will feast on Steph. Clay's a great defender, so I think that'll be a tough matchup.
If I was Golden State, I'd probably hide Curry on. Well, I don't know who they have out there right now. Their starting lineup is probably going to involve Aminu and Harkless. I would probably hide Curry on one of those two.
Yeah, you can't
preferably Aminu. So then you can have your 2 best defenders guard the 2 guards. You can have Iguodala and Thompson take and switch off back and forth on Lillard and McCollum. And then just hide Curry on Aminu. Say, look, play the passing lanes and just be aware that Aminu hits open threes. But that's pretty much all he does.
Yeah, I mean,
that's probably how I would attack that.
Yeah, if they can figure that matchup out, I think they will win. But I just think this is a good matchup for the Blazers without Durant. I think their bigs are better, at least from what we've seen. Obviously, that could change. In this series, we could see something different because these guys haven't really shown it for the a long stretch. They've shown it for two series. So I don't know. I think this could be a matchup nightmare for the Golden State. I think Lillard could put his team on his back, or McCollum, and I think they could take the Warriors in at least a couple games. I don't think they have enough to win, even without KD.
I think they're going 6, but I think the Blazers are going to sneak one by in this first game. I really think they're about to win this game. So
yeah, I think they're going to win one of the 2 first home games. I think Durant's probably going to come back game 3 or 4, and I think it's probably going to be over with that.
We have our first major disagreement. I think this goes no more than 5 or 6. I think
With or without KD? Without,
regardless.
regardless.
I think Golden State, even without Durant, I think they're just a better version of Portland. Both teams play similar styles. Their offenses are revolving around their guards. I think the Warriors are better defensively, and I think the Warriors' chemistry is just flat out all around better. Curry and Thompson are the 2 best shooters of all time. McCollum and Lillard can get hot. I'll give them that. Maybe if they can have some hot games, maybe they'll steal a couple. I would go Warriors in 5. I don't think this is going to be a very long series, but I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong.
I think
I would love.
we all want
like
to see
Portland.
7-game series.
I would
let's
love
be
a long
honest.
series. Also, I like Portland's team. They have. I'm not trying to say they suck or anything. I mean they're a good team. They're obviously in the conference finals. They've gotten this far. They've run out some series, and they're well coached. Terry Stott's an excellent coach. I don't think they have the guns. And also, now Zach Collins could be a little bit of an X factor in the series. If he can do a good job chasing around Draymond a little bit and also switching on Golden State's guards, that could play in Portland's favor a little bit and maybe help them extend the series a little bit. Also, I know. Wait, is that Rodney Hood? He's playing. Oh, wow. I just noticed
Rodney
he's in there.
Hood's been balling.
I thought he was supposed to. That was another reason I like Golden State a lot because I knew he probably was going to be out for at least a game or two. He's a key piece off of Portland's bench, and they need everything they can get in this series.
They got a great bench. They really
do have a good bench.
Their bench is solid.
You could argue that's the one advantage you could maybe slightly argue with Portland is that they have
See,
a
my
deeper
main
roster.
argument is I agree fully with what you're saying, but my main argument is that I really think that Lillard and McCollum can be better than Clay and Steph in this series. I think they can't be better now. They'll never be better. I think this is their time to prove that they're better. And like I said, if they don't step up in this series and KD doesn't come back, then it's just obvious they're not on that level. I just feel like they could rise to the occasion. Lillard's shown. I mean, he made Westbrook look like garbage. He made Westbrook look like not even a top 10 point guard. So I believe in Lillard. I think he's cold-blooded. I think he wants it. So that's the only reason why I could see this series, going to 7 or even maybe the Blazers somehow squeaking by, but only if KD doesn't come back. If KD comes back, that's a matchup nightmare, and it's not even going to be close.
If Portland had Nurkic, it'd be a lot more of an interesting series, I think.
I agree. Nurkic would have created a matchup
Yeah.
nightmare for him because their bigs, their bigs on Golden State's bigs suck in my opinion. I mean, Draymond's good, but Draymond's
picking up
not.
a little bit, but
Draymond's not a big.
especially and then you don't have Durant there, who's just kind of everything. But
Yeah.
I mean, I just think that the Blazers do have the power. They have the bench to win about 1 to 2 games. I think they're going to win 2.
they could win 2.
I
2
just
wouldn't
don't
surprise
think that
me. 2 wouldn't
they're
surprise
just not. They're just not good enough to win 4.
I think
they're good enough to challenge them, but
it depends on how quickly Durant gets back in the series. Like if he's back by game 2 or 3, I don't see Portland winning more than a game. But I mean, if he's out an extended period in the series, and it could go to 6, maybe even 7 if something crazy happens and Lillard / McCollum or both go off.
Yeah.
I think the Warriors, they're too good defensively. I think that's the key. And I think with Portland, it's not that the Rockets are super deep either, but I don't think Portland can be physical enough like the Rockets were in that series. And I think a big part of why we match up well with Golden State is we're good at stopping the chaos, slowing the game down, and we can be physical with Golden State. I'm not sure Portland can do that. And then Golden State has 2 wing defenders that can handle the 2 guards. And if you cut the 2 heads off the Dragon, I just don't know where Portland gets much more offense other than the 2. So that's why I kind of like this to lean towards a shorter series here. But I mean, I hope I'm wrong. I want to see a long series here. I obviously don't like the Warriors, but also I like what Portland's done this postseason. Lillard's been awesome. I think he was either 3rd or 4th in the MVP voting this year. Whether you like either him or Jokic, but that could be 3 or 4. But no, we'll see. It's going
to be a fun
4-point
series,
game
at
at the end
least.
of the first quarter. So
I don't think we're
let's
going to
hope for
get
a
a
good
bet.
series
Even if it is a close series, like a quick series, I think the games will be somewhat close. So
Yeah.
at least we'll have some entertainment.
yeah, I mean, both of these teams are offensive juggernauts and defense too. But I mean, they're going to score a lot of points. They're going to score in the hundreds almost every game. I feel like.
And I also think Canner he's getting
I never really understand.
He's
I don't
kinda-
understand how Canner's doing what he's doing now.
between the injury and the.
He's always been an
He's always been a
offensive
bad
player.
defense. I mean, he's never been a good defensive player, but just with the injury and all that, I just see I don't see that injury getting better. Obviously, during the
Right.
I don't see that getting any
Not.
better.
He's gonna get.
And I just think he's going to get less and less effective, and that's why I think at some point I really want to see if Terry Stotts wants to just start Zach Collins and maybe even play Myers Leonard to spell Zach Collins a little bit if Canner really gets bad. But
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. All right. Final round: Raptors Bucks. This series is going to be the series of juggernauts, and I cannot wait to see Kawhi versus Giannis. I cannot wait for that. It's going to be exciting. I don't know who's going to win it all. We both picked the Raptors in the last 2 rounds. We both thought they're the debatably the biggest chance to beat Golden State next to the Rockets. I think we both kind of agreed with that. You even said you might pick the Raptors based on what you see. I kind of thought the same. They surprised me with the Sixers. We both picked them to beat the Sixers in 5. Due to their depth and due to just the chemistry issues of the Sixers. I feel
Philly made that a little more interesting.
They made it way more interesting. Obviously, it came down to one shot. That was insane that they made it. I don't know. I don't know who I want in this series. I'm kind of leaning towards the Raptors just because I think Kawhi's been the best player in this entire playoffs. But I go back to what I've been saying this entire time. I think Giannis wants it more than any player in this whole league.
Better than Durant.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Better than the entire Warriors team combined. I think the Warriors are bored. I think that's why they've looked somewhat bad in this entire. They've looked really.
They were definitely
bad.
bored in the Clippers series.
Yeah.
That was evident. No disrespect to the Clippers, but them winning 2 games.
They're looking like they're coming together more, but I don't know. So I think I'm actually gonna pick the Bucks. I think Giannis reminds me so much of a young LeBron James and how much he wants it and how dominant he is that I think he's going to will it. And I like Kawhi a lot, but his role players have not stepped up. I don't believe at all in Kyle Lowry. I think that dude's just terrible in the clutch, terrible in the playoffs. And I think the role players, along with Giannis's greatness, matching Kawhi's greatness, is what's going to bring them over the edge.
I mostly agree with you with Lowry. In his defense, though, he did make some big plays in Game 7.
He
got some big rebounds. He made some big steals in Game 7.
But he was garbage in some
offensively, he for some reason in the playoffs, he can't ever shoot, which is weird.
I mean, that's a fair point that he has stepped up in some games, but he's not consistent and he shrinks sometimes. I mean, he scored 0 points in the last series. It's just
like I said, offensively, he's a complete enigma, complete different in the playoffs than in the regular season. But I mean, I'm going with the Bucks, no doubt. I think the Bucks are going to win in 6. I think the Bucks are. I don't think they're that much better than the Raptors. I just think that their bench and their starting lineup is better. And I haven't seen anybody ever in the whole entire league know how to guard Giannis properly. He's just an anomaly for every team. I mean, they beat the Raptors 3 out of 4 games in the regular season. And this last series shows that if you can stop Kawhi, which is proven to be almost impossible.
100%.
The Raptors have really no one else besides 2 other players to pick them up. Marc Gasol's trade seems like it's not really, panning out great. But I mean, what do you think? This is from a matchup perspective. This is going to be a fascinating series because pretty much if you're Toronto, you have 2 legit defenders you can throw at Giannis. Now, I'm not saying they're not going to shut down Giannis. No one's going to shut down Giannis.
Kawhi's just too small, I feel like.
Kawhi's a little small. I actually think they start off with Siakam for a little bit. I think he's a little longer, and 2, with as much as they rely on Kawhi on the offensive end, I don't think you want to have to ask him, okay, now guard Giannis every single possession. I think in the big key moments in this series, they will switch Kawhi on Giannis and have Kawhi start on Giannis. But I think, at least to start the series, I would not be surprised at all if they went Siakam. I actually even wouldn't be surprised if Siakam was on Giannis more possessions than Kawhi. I actually saw, though, an interesting point about that. Zach Lowe brought this up on his podcast the other day. They had player matchup tracking data, and they were looking at Kawhi versus Giannis and the possessions he guarded him in the 4 regular season games they played. Interesting stat, he guarded him 31 possessions from what the NBA tracking data was able to track. He only took 3 shots on those 31 possessions, which I thought was a very interesting stat. Wow. Now, I've never seen those possessions. I don't know what was going on as to why he only took 3 shots. I don't know if it was Kawhi forcing him out the paint, using his core strength to do that. I don't know if it was other series where they were using Giannis as a decoy. It could have been that. Or it could have just been Giannis was just semi getting to the rim, and then the help defender will come by and he dishes out the 3. So
Yeah, because that's definitely a move. I mean,
yeah.
if they double him, then that's when
Yeah.
the role players really got to step up, and
Yeah.
where the 3-point shooting needs to shine for the Bucks.
It'll also be interesting to see what the Raptors do when they bring Lopez off the floor and they have Giannis at center. Because obviously, to start off, you know, it'll be Gasol versus Lopez on both ends of the floor. They're not going to cross that at all. There's no one on. I mean, there's no one else in Toronto that you really want Lopez on other than Gasol. And the good thing about Gasol is Gasol doesn't even shoot a whole lot, even when he gets wide open shots.
He hasn't been that good.
So you can kind of have Lopez while he watches Gasol a little bit. You can kind of have him roam around closer to the paint to watch other guys and to crash the boards for rebounds. It'll be interesting to see when Milwaukee does go small. Does Toronto go small with them? They'll probably do that a little bit. Or because you don't want Gasol on Giannis, especially after Gasol guarding and Embiid that whole other series. I think Giannis is a completely different beast. I wouldn't want Gasol. Pretty much 98% of the possessions when you're facing Giannis, I want either Siakam or Kawhi Leonard on him if I'm in Toronto. It'll be interesting to see though what they do with Gasol. Do we see a lot of maybe Serge Ibaka gives a few tries at
Ibaka's
Giannis?
a good
We could see
defender,
that too.
yeah.
If I was Toronto, I'd probably counter that by bringing Ibaka in for Gasol. Maybe he give when you want to give either Siakam or Kawhi a rest, let Ibaka guard Giannis a little bit. I want to see how Toronto handles that when Lopez is on the floor versus when Giannis is center and they're playing small. But the thing about Toronto is they still do have dudes that can chase guys around, switch on a lot of picks, and guard 3-point shots. And Milwaukee does rely on the 3 a lot.
If their bench steps up, they have a great chance. I mean, that's the thing. They have great bench players. We talked about them in the previous podcast. You know, freaking Fred VanVleet. Where has he been? Powell. Where's he been? I mean,
like
these players have
he's
disappeared.
Been nowhere to be found. VanVleet is one of the guys I've always been bullish on them, and I was like,
I like him too. I think he's
for
great.
Them coming off the bench for them, and he hasn't been
Danny
great.
Green, yeah, he needs to be averaging more points.
In Milwaukee, they're good defensively. If you want to go the other way, how they're going to guard Toronto.
They are.
They're good in a different way. They're not as physical as Philly is, but they're very disciplined. They know where to be, and they can fly around a little more because they have more wings that can just fly around all over the place. But I'll also see if Siakam plays that to his advantage. And instead of having to deal with Embiid, maybe he gets a little more involved in the series. More like you saw against Orlando in round 1, where maybe he tries to post up Mirotic if he gets switched on him, or Middleton, or whoever. So, personally, if I was Milwaukee, I'd have Middleton guard Kawhi most of the time. And I might even put Giannis on Siakam a little bit to see if they can do what Philly did with Embiid on Siakam in the last round.
Yeah,
but
if they take him out the game.
Yeah,
and
try to take him out the game.
Middleton's a great defender, and then they bring the double when Kawhi drives. I feel like they'll be all right.
The Raptors really need Kyle Lowry to step up in this series.
They
need
his
it's going to be tough too.
Siakam on offense. I mean, they need those guys. And Danny Green, I mean, they need everything because I feel like the Bucks are going to bring it. I feel like their chemistry is hitting on all cylinders and they're flowing. And they got a superstar that's hungry. They got a hungry superstar. Yeah, home court's big.
It's not going to be easier for Lowry with Bledsoe guarding. I mean, Bledsoe's a really good defender.
Bledsoe's a psycho. That's why. I mean, that goes back to why I think that the Celtics would have been better off with Scary Terry because it was a different series with him.
Yeah, he got in Bledsoe's head last year.
He did, big time.
But with that series, all those cross matchups are going to be fascinating. And
so who you picking? You haven't picked.
And I really want to go Toronto just because I've been on them. I picked them to win the East to start off, and I even almost picked them to win the title. And I do have a wager on them to win the East. They are plus 250 in the series too, which I think is a slightly better value than minus 300 on Milwaukee. I'm gonna flip flop though. I'm gonna go with the Bucks in 6 because I like what I've seen from the Bucks too much.
All right.
And they're getting Brogdon back. Brogdon's another creator for them and a decent defender on the other end. I think you bring Brogdon back in the game, that could be a game changer. And I think Toronto is going to look a little better offensively, and I have a little more faith in their other guys in this series just because Philly's so physical and they just drag those games out. It's not going to be quite that with Milwaukee. It's going to be a little different. They're going to have to get back on the other end of the floor, though, because Milwaukee loves the transition game with Giannis, obviously. But I think Giannis, like y'all said, to echo Giannis is too good. I think he's been amazing.
It's like a swole Durant.
As great as Kawhi's been, it's going to be an awesome series, and they're going to go back and forth. And I don't even think I wouldn't have Giannis on Kawhi all the time if I was Milwaukee too. I'd kind of switch that around. You have Middleton, who's a good defender as well, but I'm going to go Bucks in 6. I like the Bucks
right, I think we all got Bucks in 6.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, does anybody have any closing thoughts? I think we broke it down pretty good. Where are we at right
Bucks
now?
Warriors. I mean,
Bucks can win that series too. Bucks are very
Bucks are
capable of beating the
lethal.
Warriors.
And if the Bucks do win that series, they'll have home court too.
Yeah.
They'll have home court.
That's
in the
that's
finals.
another good.
Yeah,
that's
I
good
mean,
point.
Giannis is
Toronto,
just a
both teams
nightmare.
actually would. As weird as that is to think, because Toronto had a better record than them too. But
It's going to be
Yeah,
a good
no,
good end to the
Milwaukee.
playoffs. I gotta say that,
Yeah.
and a good finals. So I'm
Mhm.
looking forward to it. Zion to the Pelicans.
oh man,
I'm
Today's a good
hyped.
day.
Today's a good day.
that was crazy.
So I think we're gonna end it there, boys.
Oh yeah,
Alright,
good stuff,
nice.
guys.